Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel on YouTube, where Kahuna and I've got the TNT takes for you on the Challenge USA Season 2. That's right, I'm your host, Chris. We're back to dissect, I believe, episode 11 of this season. Man, it's come and gone so quickly. Do you feel like that as well, Kahuna? Like, I've enjoyed this season. It feels like it's just flown by.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, we did start out the season with the double episodes, which kind of got it rolling real fast.
Yeah.
And and they've kept up the pace with some punchy episodes. I don't think there's been too many waste ones in there. And they've kept it going. So I'm appreciative of it.
Mm.
Sometimes you hear never us, of course, on the TNT pod takes, but you do
Yeah.
hear some podcasts complaining about the main MTV going for 20 something episodes, and it can be a bit of a drain. This one's it's getting there. It's getting there fast too.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference between the USA franchise or All Stars and the main show. The main show, the episodes are longer. They always have so many returning players coming back with a bunch of like new players coming in that kind of feels like it's, if you're a sports fan, it feels like the prelims, right? So it's before you get to the playoffs, before you get to the serious stuff, there's like quite a lot of episodes, but we just need to get rid of these side characters before it gets spicy, where with this one, it seemed like it was spicy right from the start. A lot of new people coming in. I've loved it. I don't think that it's lost any steam for me personally. And here's the good news. Even though we know that we're getting close to the end of the Challenge USA 2, there is another season right around the corner, season 39. So we're not going to have much of a break before we're going to be back to talk about the Challenge. But let's say hello to a few people here in the live. Chris, welcome back to the live. It's great to have you here. Cashwash is back in the live as well. Kiwi Skirt is back in the live. W is here as well. Dolores is here. Kuna and Chris. Okay, good timing. Just got home. Feel like I blinked and now it's almost over. Yeah, exactly. And Danica also in the live as well. Danica, welcome to the live. So happy everybody could get here because we just had daylight savings, right? Basically. And that means that our time has moved and it's now an hour earlier for everybody that normally would watch us at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over in the US. It's now 7 p.m. So it's a little bit of a different time here, but glad people could jump on. We kept it the same time for us on this side because it kind of worked with our schedule. So just keep in mind that a lot of shows coming into the next couple of weeks, I don't know when daylight savings happens over in the US or if you have it over there as well. It's maybe going to be an hour earlier for a lot of our shows over the coming weeks. And because we're doing so much right now, Kahuna, we got to try and keep our schedule as tight as possible when it comes to it.
Everything's going to be meticulously planned.
Yeah, 100%. I see Chris is asking about Corey's big win. That's coming up later on. Well, let's because I feel like Kahuna may be eating some humble pie pretty soon, and I'm looking forward to that later on as we get through this episode. But what an episode, Kahuna! Obviously, we start off here. The episode is called "Slippery Business." Later on, we're going to find out why that is so. And in the beginning of this, we've got Chris coming back to the house. It's a little bit of a couple of nothing confessionals before they get into the daily, before things sort of speed up. But Chris just talks about the fact that he's now the biggest target. He needs to either get Tyler or Fessy out of the game because those two are never going to go after each other. Fessy's kind of protecting Tyler. Tyler's against him. We have Cassidy talking a little bit about how, her game, she's got to back up against the wall. She's also don't have anybody that is in the house that's going to cover for her. Michelle's not got her back, and she understands Michelle's got other priorities in the game. And then we get Corey, and Corey gets the emotional video from home, Kahuna. I was a little bit worried when I saw that. I was like, oh no, like he's going to go into an elimination when I saw that. Obviously, something good's coming, but you always know that it's going to be one or the other, and maybe I was a little bit glass half empty in this case when I saw the video.
Yeah, well, we know it's not going to be a winner's edit for Corey.
Hey, well, last week didn't we say Kuna? Come on, Kahuna.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm leading into it a little bit more. I'm leading into it. Yeah,
we
I
had
was
Chris with the emotional video a week or two ago, and we said, "Oh, could that be a winner's edit?"
Yeah, and now I'm starting to wonder if it's adding even more to that fact for Chris. Now, Corey, I like when Corey gets a little bit. He's had a quiet season for one of the vets, for one of the people that has in the past been such a massive character. He's been pretty quiet, so it's good for him to get that little bit of shine. There you go. He's willing to bring money home to those 3 kids. I mean, look, if Corey does win, that's one time I'd be happy to be wrong. To be honest with you, I'd be happy to be wrong because I like it when vets kind of make that leap and can get over years of not hitting there, and then when you finally see them break through, we'll see. I hope hopefully it might be that season for Corey.
Yeah. Diva, welcome to the live saying hello, Chris and Kahuna. Glad Corey got some screen time. Maybe a final edit, not a winner's edit. It's going to be interesting. But
More likely.
Corey, yeah, Corey's conversation early on here, his strategy right now, which is a good strategy. Let's give him some credit. The guy's been playing the game for a long time. He's learned a few things over the years playing the game. He wants to have strong women at the end. So he's working with Desi, Michaela, Chanel, who is still seen as a strong woman at this stage, even though I don't think, she hasn't really lived up to that hype. I'm just going to say she hasn't won anything necessarily outright. And he also puts Tori in that bracket, So those are the 4 women that he wants to work with at the end, which I think is a smart move for Corey because he knows that athletically he's gifted and he's always going to do well at that side of it. But he's also got to have people there that can help him in places where maybe he's a little bit deficient when it comes to a final.
I do think it's funny that they've been showing that discussion in various forms for a couple of episodes now, a few weeks, where you're like, well, at the end, you got to have, the men are like, we want to have the right women there. The women are trying to, we've seen Desi in that wanting to have making deals with bananas, not because they're friends in the game or whatever, but because they know having the strong men at the end is advantageous to the women and vice versa for the men. And I like how it's now at this point where we're maybe one episode away where Corey's like, hey, I got to start putting my squad together. I got to have Corey, come on, bro. Are you just waking up to it now? So that's what I'm like. Sometimes he does some amazing stuff, and then other times I'm like, he solidifies it for me. So we'll see. This
shade.
Mixed bag.
Okay, well, I want to hear about that mixed bag later on because I thought he had a pretty solid episode. Danica says here, Corey equals CT this season. That's high praise, but I feel like because a lot of people that are playing the game with Corey this season, they're not necessarily aware, I think, of his deficiencies when it comes to a final either. They don't really know where he struggles because I feel like a lot of the Survivor players who've come over to play this game, I don't know if they're the biggest challenge fans and if they've necessarily watched past seasons and past performances of Corey. Like I said, Corey's gifted athletically, but there are some shortcomings when it comes to the mental stuff if he gets to an end final position. So I don't know if he's necessarily the person that the women should bank on, but they are banking on him for that experience as someone that has made finals before, as being a vet. What did CT call them when they came in this season? Did he say they were legends or something?
Was it legends was the original term, was it?
I can't remember. They throw those terms around so easily these days.
Icon? Was it icons?
Corey, he's the icon. He is the moment. He is the moment of the Challenge USA 2. Let's read a few more of the comments here before we move on. Dolores says, how about the Chris elimination win? I do not think I saw that coming, guys. Could Chris win this? I certainly did not think so at the beginning and for actually a few episodes, but not sure now. We'll talk about that Chris elimination definitely a little bit later on as we go through this. What else do we have here? We've got Willie saying he should have called Nelson to see if he's okay. Man, Nelson's getting some bad news. I don't know if you've been up to date with that. That's really sad. So for people who don't know and don't stay up to date, I'm not even always that up to date on social media. I try and be better. I'm doing my best to be better for you guys, but I don't know how people do it, man. Like some people are on social media a lot, but I noticed that Andre Lee, who's not in the live right now, he tagged me in a video that Nelson was talking about the bone in his ankle being re-broken. And he thought he was just training too hard. So maybe more surgery or something needs to happen, which that's gut-wrenching, right? As someone that has struggled with my own injuries and recurring injuries, not being able to get into training, like mentally that takes a toll on you when you're someone that loves doing that. It's like, imagine you've got a hobby, something that you love doing, and they're telling you you can't do that anymore. And that's kind of what's being ripped away from Nelson. So I feel for him, man. Like I really hope that he can get himself in a good spot so he can come back and play again, Kuna.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like I know that it's come out, people have said, or he's come out and said in past seasons he wasn't able to go at times because he didn't even have enough private health insurance or health insurance to risk the injury, and then to have something like this bad, I don't like it. Probably speaks a lot of the US healthcare system if you want to get into politics and stuff, but
Mm.
like obviously it's not set. He needs a second opinion. He needs something to go right for him because he's had a bit of a bad run of luck. So shout out to Nelson. Hope it does go well for him.
Yeah, wow. Speedy Bird saying here he may have to have his foot amputated. Let's hope it doesn't get to that point there, right? That is really, really intense. Dolores saying, I think I personally hope Corey wins over Chris, or dare I say even over Bananas. I'm leaning towards Corey because we saw the family edit. Well, Chris got the family edit as well, Dolores. Let's share the love. Let's share the love between the two of them. Let's see what else people are saying. We've got Kiwi's Kid saying, yeah, I'd love to see Corey get the win. There's still plenty of competition for him still left. Fingers crossed. So, yeah, a lot of people here behind Corey, obviously being a legend of the show, an MTV main character. Karuna's really not liking the legend status. All right, let's get into some positives here. Let's give Karuna an opportunity. He says he's not a hater. Let's give him an opportunity.
My
to some
villain
praise.
ask. I'll just double down on it.
Let's get into the daily challenge. They go into the daily challenge, and it's called Slippery Business. As soon as they got the oil out, I was like, all right, let's go. Very athletic, fit people with some oil on them. Like it was good on the eye. I'm not gonna lie. You know, a few of them look pretty good out there. And I'm not just talking about the men, Kuna.
We get to see Bananas with his full producer mind playing up to it, doing the flash dance slash.
It looked like Michelle was thirsting on him a little bit there.
Yeah, they enjoyed it. They enjoyed the show. They got it, as many viewers did at home, I'm sure as well. So, but I like a lot of them are standing there. Like obviously you have to oil up; it's part of the challenge. But some of them are just standing there like awkwardly, not wanting to do it. But again, Bananas just like, hey,
Tyler,
if we're doing
Tyler
it anyway,
Chris.
yeah, if we're gonna do it, we're doing it properly. And he put some slow music on, I'm sure it would have come out great in the edit. And he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
Pete says, anyone else noticed that the men got sexy time music and the women got some sort of low budget carnival music? I didn't notice that. I was just checking out the physique on some of those women. They were pretty impressive as well, you know. So
I also think it was very specific that the men went first when they're dumping oil onto themselves. I was like, I think that was deliberate. They didn't want to make the women be the first thing that said. You make a joke of it, you make it fun. It's not trying to be exploitative. It's just part of the game with the men, and then you can do the women with a little bit less, guilty conscience.
Yeah, so they can always make sex symbols of the men. That's okay, but we can't make sex symbols of the women. That's like a big no-no. Not a double standard at all, Kahuna.
Hey, man, it's power imbalance. It's punching up versus punching down.
But it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a fun challenge seeing them out there. Definitely felt for both Chris and Cassidy in their two heats because we knew that they were going to get ganged up on. And when they went for Chris, like, man, like he put up a fight. He was in there for a lot longer than what I thought. He had like 4 people on him at one stage. I think Tyler was standing to the side, not really getting too involved, trying to conserve energy. And he's like, well, they're going for Chris first. I think the other move would have been maybe for Tyler to try and help, but he could also not show his cards because he was working with Fessy and Fessy is made. So it was like this weird dynamic and this gentleman's agreement of who would get involved and when would they get involved in the fight, basically when they were out there. But they even had the woman at this stage, like Desi saying, like, this is not fun to see. You know, Cassidy is also like, oh, it's not good. It's not good to see Chris getting ganged up on in such a way. But the challenge isn't fair. That's just one of those things. The challenge is never fair. It is about, competition, social strategy, and this is not new when it comes to the challenge.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe that's what the producers intended, because we've had similar challenges in the past in the old school time, but they would do it with one-on-one where you randomly draw who your opponent is going to be and then kind of do it in a knockout way. And I was like, oh, all in one would be great. I thought like the more the merrier. This is going to be fun, like just everyone wrestling everyone. But then it kind of just turned into Fessy dictating who goes, trying to engineer the matches and sitting back. And that kind of, the team up, the gang up wasn't as fun. and not seeing some potential matchups, because I would have loved to see Chris go one-on-one with a Fessy or a Bananas or something like that, and Tori getting taken out early as well, when she might have had a better shot on the individual one-on-one basis. Would have been fun to see her go up against Michaela, go up against Desi, and get a real sense of where we stand or
Yeah.
rank going into the finals, you know?
It was annoying seeing Fessy, and again, I think it speaks to Fessy's game, right? He's playing a bloody good game this season. He's won a lot of dailies. Socially, he's in a good spot. Like, they were just leaving him alone. Like, he
Yeah.
had all the opportunity in the world to like rest up, go into that final fight, rested, but he still lost to Corey. And I saw a lot of people sort of mock Fessy online, you know, because it's the easy target. Let's be honest, you know, everybody hates Fessy. Let's jump in on Fessy. Look at how bad he is. He lost to Corey. Corey had all the energy in the world taken away from him while Fessy could rest for that final battle. You know, Corey is so much superior to Fessy. That is the takes that were on Twitter, which I think is so, like, I don't know, elementary when it comes to like arguments. Like, yes, Corey was better in this specific facet, but Fessy's clearly this is where I will agree with you, Kuhn. I know people are going to hate us in the chat, but Fessy's clearly a better all-rounder in the challenge. Like, he can win more different in more different ways compared to a Corey, right? So he lost this one, and give Corey his flowers. He did well in the physical exchange, but also he had experience in wrestling, which is how to move your body and how to use the other person's momentum against them. Fessy didn't do good. Maybe in a fight, Corey would win, but in the challenge, I think that it's easy. It's easy target to go after Fessy losing this one. I was impressed by the fact that he could sit out as long as he did.
That was the impressive part, that he was able to just conserve so much energy and dictate to the others. Yeah, look, I think look, Fessy probably is deserved of some flack here, because he was so there are things that aren't going to be a strong suit. We know eating's not going to be one of them. I don't think puzzles is necessarily a strong point, or maths. It's not like weak. He's a pretty decent performer overall. But I think this Corey was definitely the underdog. I think going into it, anyone that looked at this says Fessy was the odds on probable winner here. He's got size, he's got reach, he's got strength advantage on him, probably. He's got, even though he doesn't do wrestling, he said, like, I played football. This is what I do every day of my life. This is his thing. And great edit, by the way, to have the overconfident Fessy, as always, immediately contrasted with losing the game. So that's always great. Shout out to Corey. I do think he was the underdog. I didn't think he would have such a good shot, but he did do an amazing job on that for sure. When I said there's like rocks and diamonds, pluses and minuses, even though it was Corey's obviously time to shine, I saw some statistics that came out that said this Corey winning today broke the longest streak in the history of the challenge for never winning an individual challenge.
Wow.
By the way, which Corey was holding.
Yeah, so Nelson held it before him, right?
Yeah, so I think Nelson may have been worse because it was no wins at all. Corey's won like team challenges and things like. I think he's never won an individual. That was his first individual win.
Wow.
Since joining the challenge. So obviously there's not as many individual challenges to win constantly. But so the numbers are a little bit skewed, but that's his first ever, and he had the longest streak in the history of the challenge of never winning. So don't come at me about Corey being amazing.
I think that yes, a couple of good comments coming in here. And listen, I'm not like the number one Fessy stan. I just want to let everybody know that. But I just feel like it's easy to say, oh, he's so terrible, which he's clearly not. So I just wanted to bring some balance to the conversation from an athletic ability. But Willie says here, Fessy is known to be scary because of his height, but him losing against Corey just proved that he's tall. Being tall is nothing. I think that if Fessy and Corey had to go in a hall brawl, Fessy wins. The reason that Corey won here is because of his experience in wrestling, because of his experience in how to move his body. Fessy did decently, but Corey was able to use the momentum that Fessy had against him when he threw him out of the ring. So really it came down to that for me. I agree with you. Going into it, I don't think Corey was going to win this. Like, he was gassed going into that final one. I mean, he was breathing heavily. Fessy had the ability to wait, and Fessy's physically decent. I don't think many people does to Fessy what Corey did in that situation. I think Corey there was the perfect storm, the perfect thing for him to go in there with his skill set and to win this specific challenge. But a couple of comments here that are coming in that I don't want to miss. So Cashwash here says Cassidy was holding her own for longer than expected. I was very happy for Michaela. I agree. I was going to come into this to say Cassidy kind of won me over in the previous episode, Kahuna, when she, when she was fighting for her life. She's already been in the elimination twice. She's come back twice. Yes, she hasn't gone up against the most physically capable of gifted people, I would say, in the arena either. But I'm loving Cassidy's the dog in her, like the fight. She doesn't give up. She's not sitting. Yes, she's maybe like upset that people are throwing her in, but who isn't, right? I love the fact that she's really, really putting up a fight this season. And someone kind of compared her to, I think last week in the live, someone compared it to maybe a Cara Maria type of story that she could have on the challenge. Like, she's in a very similar position. That's high praise because Cara Maria is queen, like everybody knows. But, there's a potential here for her if she continues to come back in future seasons. And I feel like she fits on the challenge really well. She's playful. She's fun. She's making out with Michelle Fitzgerald this episode. I mean, what more could you want? What more could you want? I feel like she's bringing a lot to the table, and her putting up a fight, that was impressive to see this episode as well.
You can see the producers just like praising all their gods, like the MTV gods or the challenge gods, for when someone can come along, put up fight like that, throw up drama, be back against the wall, and then go out and make out with another girl during the episode as well. They're like, yes, thank you. We need more of that. We need more of that. All our Corys are getting, less and less messy as they get on. They're getting older. Even Fessy now is keeping it in his pants. So let's get Cassidy out there for sure.
Yeah. Oreo is saying, I think Cassidy, and welcome to the live as well, is saying, I think Cassidy is the third best female borderline second in this game. Well, she's proven. I will say this. A lot of people, and I was going to bring this up as well. Chanel, Pete said, Chanel finally showed some heart in this Wrestling Daily, and she definitely did. You'd expect her to do good at this, right? Because she, like she said, she's physically probably one of the bigger girls there. So she should be able to throw her weight around and be competitive and scrappy. And she did do well. Like, it took a lot for Michaela to beat her. But Michaela still got the win. Still have that. Chanel still does not have anything to her name right now. So if you compare Cassidy to Chanel, I'd lean towards Cassidy. And there's this whole beef between the two of them at the moment, which I'm loving, by the way. I love the whole Chanel versus Cassidy vibes, dare I say rivals, Dio in the future, potential, it's fun. I love seeing people not get along, and especially if they're from the same show.
Yeah, Cassidy's showing some real fight. Chanel, I don't know, maybe she hasn't had, like, the two of the challenge dailies where we really saw her struggle was specifically jumping on trampolines. Cassidy's gone into 2 eliminations and come out specifically against Alyssa's. So she's run out of Alyssa's to eliminate. Maybe she's not going to be as good when it's not an Alyssa that she's facing off against. But Chanel obviously shown she's got the fight in her as well. And she's never backed down from the challenge as far as, at least verbally. She said, like, I'm happy to go in there with Cass and show her why she's a layup. So she's trying to back it up. But maybe it's opportunity based. I'm not sure. I want to see what she's got in the tank. You know what I mean?
I think strategically, she's doing a lot. And I know that she's been on a podcast recently, and people in the chat can let us know which one it was, where she spoke about her strategic game and why she's making certain moves and how it's not making the edit, which is not a good thing for her, by the way. If those kind of conversations are not making the edit, I'm kind of wondering, does she win this season? Like, I feel like you want to give some credit to the person who wins the season. So it puts me a little bit lower on her possibility of coming back and winning the show. But I do want to bring up Kiwi Skirt's comment here. We love it, Kiwi Skirt, when people disagree with me, and it happens very often. I'm thick-skinned, right? I'm used to people not agreeing with me. Half of the time, Kahuna doesn't agree with me. So she says, I don't agree with Chris. I think Vessel is looking thinner, and Corey would take him in a hall brawl. And I will say this, I have noticed that Fessy, like, he didn't look as like muscly as some
Yeah.
of the other guys. Like, I mean, Josh
yeah.
looked like an absolute tank, bro. Like, did you see the physique on Josh? Like, listen, the guy might not be an athletic person, but definitely he's doing some stuff right in his diet and doing some stuff right going into the gym because he's put on some muscle. Like, when you put Josh and Fessy next to each other, and Josh is about the same size, you would look at them and say Josh should be able to take Fessy, but we know he wouldn't be able to. But just physically, he looks bigger than Fessy right now. Fessy doesn't look that big. He's tall, but not as muscly, I would say.
Yeah.
And Danica here says, Chris, Fessy, Gabler, you're going to elevate people, that's for sure. Who's next? Ashley and D? Listen.
Oh, D. Oh no.
I'm not gonna go that far. Like, I think Ashley does have her moments on the show that's messy and can be fun, but I'm not gonna go and say I'm a D supporter. And we're in Australia. We can't even support a Kuna. How
Yeah,
bad
no,
is
that's
that?
the sucky thing. Like when D first came on, I was like, Vietnamese girl from Australia. I know girls like that. Like in my
Mm.
life, the area that I live in, Southwest Sydney, is near a suburb called Cabramatta, which is very, very heavily populated with Vietnamese. And I grew up with a lot of friends that were D essentially in my teen years. So when D did not do good things, it was really disappointing for me.
Yeah. Orius is Cassidy only proven is Tori Desi has been super hit and miss. This season, Michaela always struggled under pressure. I said I've a hot take, and it was definitely one. I think Michaela is starting to, like, physically, she's starting to play the game really well, but we are going to get into some of the social stuff, which I think she's struggling a little bit on some of the social aspects of the game right now, but it's because she's trying to bulldoze her way through the game. She's got some great instincts, but it's the way that she's approaching it, which is quite interesting. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But ultimately, we do get Corey and Michaela winning this challenge, which means that they're going to go into the vote with all the power going back to the house. And this is going to mean that going back in there, Michaela has a conversation with the girls. She talks to her girl Chanel, her girl Desi, and she's like, listen, this is the time now. I've got to make a move. We don't want to run this game against Tori at the end, which instinctively sounds right. But if you're Desi and you're Chanel, the last person you want to see going into the arena at this stage is Tori, because you know your number might get called. And
There's not
this
a
is the
lot
whole
of
thing.
options.
This is why Cassidy's calling them out. And they can't understand it. Cassidy's like, you're afraid. You're scared. You're scared of going down there and taking on anybody. And Cassidy's got so there's some truth to it. You know, there's some truth to it. They don't, both DC and Chanel don't want the smoke. They don't want to go up against Tori.
With good reason, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
not only is her reputation,
I don't want to go up against her.
Yeah, like not only is she the current main show champion, was in the world championship, has been on like every iteration and brought her back 6-7 seasons in a row, but they literally saw her absolutely body a 2-time champion in Janae earlier this season. And you know, do they risk? We haven't had a hall brawl yet. You know, we haven't seen a really bad headbanger. Do they want that to be the one where they go in with Tori? If Tori's in there, it's Cassidy, Michaela's safe, it's Chanel, or it's Desi. And they've got a 50% shot of being the one to go up against Tori. Like, you know, or 25%, but of the two of them, 50% of the women is going to be one of them two. It's a hard sell. Like, I get it. We don't want to face her in the end, but I want to get to the end. And if Tori's in the elimination, it's probably going to be one of us. Like, you know, if you want to take Tori out, you're not going to put Michelle up against her. You know what I mean? If your intent is to take Tori out, you're not going to put a Cassidy up against her. So what's the point of putting her in if you're not going to actually put in the best to try to take her out? Because then she just comes back.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And obviously they're like, you're aligned with us, don't put us under pressure. But Michaela's running out of numbers at this stage in the game. Like, who else is there outside of Tori? There's really no one. It's just Cassidy, I guess. But both Chanel and Desi clearly feel like if they get thrown in against Cassidy, they can take her. They feel confident in their ability. And they still believe, like Chanel said last week, that Cassidy's a layup. Yes, Lovable Nikki's in the house. Hello, Lovable Nikki. Welcome back to the stream. Just in time to tell me to simmer down because I was throwing a couple of bullets out there at Desi and Chanel. I don't think that Nikki liked that too much. But yeah, like I feel like they do talk her out of it slightly because going into the nominations, she still has that in her mind, but she has to work with Corey.
I think that's the main thing. I think if there was any leeway with Corey, maybe she might have tried to wiggle it in a little bit more and throw it out. Because even though I said like there's always the danger of Tori coming back, you never know. But they're at the tippy top of the time for consequences is slipping away. If this is the final thing, if this is a final elimination for women or whatever it is, and we get into the final one eventually, then you got to take your shot now because the consequences can't come back in the finals. So we'll see.
Yeah. Andrea Lee, welcome into the live as well. Just in time to remind you that the Hall Brawl should still be on between you and Corey, Kahuna. Because I will say this, Andrea Lee, Kahuna's been finding it very difficult to give praise to Corey this episode as well. Like,
he did an amazing job in again taking Fessy out. He was the underdog and he beat him fair and square. Big props for that. That's not an
What was
easy
that about?
one to win.
What did you say about a record long time since the last time that?
17 attempts to win an individual challenge it took him, and 6 full calendar years. So many seasons, he's never won a single daily challenge individually.
Kahuna's so spicy. Kahuna's so spicy. He has to always add that little bit of extra in there.
And if you put him in a Hall Brawl against me, another elimination, he will never win.
The BK out on the prowl. Wooly says, my thoughts about the voting is that Corey should have put up Bananas because they are close of making the finals, and Corey not taking a shot at Bananas now guarantees he gets second place because Bananas is going to win the whole bloody show. He's the best to ever do it, Kahuna, and he's still there.
Yeah, they're letting him slide, man. That's a hard one. If Corey's got any interest, like I can understand protecting Tori because you want the women on your side in the finals. You need strong women to run with, but he needs to take his shot there. Like if that's what he wants to do.
She came in with shocking that Kuna gives Corey props. And she's like, I just like that. Kuna, stop playing with me. Listen. Pete says, even as a straight man, I must say Corey looks good and worked hard. Yeah, 100%. He's been putting in the work in the gym. Chris says, don't lie to yourself. If you saw Corey running at you, you would start shaking with fear.
Hey, enough of that. Is there bans? Can we throw out bans? What's going on here? Moderators.
Chris is the moderator. Chris is the moderator.
Oh, yeah, no.
I'm off the show. I'm off the show. She's going to kick you. But no, listen, when it comes to the nominations, I thought it was interesting, especially the fact that Corey got really annoyed with Michaela, which I think tells you a lot about, because later on in the episode, Cassidy gets annoyed with her as well. So it shows you that there is a way that Michaela, when she communicates, can come across as quite bulldozy. And we've seen her even sit Chris down a couple of times earlier in the season. I love it for a TV show. I think it's awesome that Michaela's there, and I really hope Michaela comes back. I feel like she's going to probably win this season. Big call from me at the moment. She's got all the momentum behind her. I think she's athletically gifted. She didn't get invited to season 39, which clearly means she must have won this season because she's probably the biggest female character of the season. And then Michelle goes back, so we know Michelle doesn't win it. So if I had to guess right now, I'd say Michaela's probably winning it. But even if she doesn't win, I really hope Michaela comes back because I feel like she's got that dog in her. She's got that, even though socially sometimes she's not, I don't think, the best in how she gets a point across and how she gets people on board. It's going to make for great drama on the main show as well. Hey, Kuna, would you endorse that as well?
She's easily cemented a ticket back anytime she wants. They would love the fact that she's going hard at it. She's not just there for the holiday. She's there to really stamp, her name on this challenge, especially after, they obviously like it to the point where they brought her onto the main show before casting on the USA, right? She made it. She didn't do well, but she did well enough and impressed enough people to come back for this. And now she's booking her ticket. She's dominating physically. She's throwing weight around. She's trying different things, and she's in a really strong female alliance, which we don't get to see very often. So she's yeah, solidifying a spot for sure. They're going to invite her back, no worries.
Kiwi Skirt makes a great comparison here, says that she's very much like Spock from Star Trek, to the point, no emotion involved. I love it. Michaela, that is. Yep, got that. And I think that, again, outside of Cassidy is a big part of the show as well. I just don't, there's this doubt in me that Cassidy's going to win it. I feel like she's got the underdog in it. I don't think she's going to win it. I don't know if she's got it in her yet. She, to me, comes across as someone that needs to go back and train a lot for future seasons and come back, and she may be a lot more competitive, even though she's got the scrappiness in her and she's proven herself already in the sand. I don't know if this is her season. Michaela, I feel like, has had a big season. And then outside of Michaela, Tori, man, even in the confessionals, I put up a clip of New School versus Old School with the two Survivor girls fighting each other out in the wrestling. And Tori's like, where did you get these girls? SmackDown? One's got the scorpion, the other one's doing the clam, Tori is like, I was just thinking in that moment, this is why they keep inviting Tori back. You can hate on her all you want. She is bloody good in the confessionals. She is entertaining in the confessionals.
She's very good. She knows what she's doing, that's for sure. I grew up watching, obsessed with wrestling. My mum was like a little tiny Filipino lady that would just wake me up in the middle of the night to watch wrestling. And I was watching, I'm like, I don't remember there ever being a move called a clam lock that they edited together while Chanel was wrapping her legs around Michaela's face. I'm like, don't put clam lock while they're doing that kind of action. I'm like, what is happening here? I don't even know.
Yeah, so Chris here says Cassidy won't win this season. That's okay. Cara Maria didn't win for a while either, right, Chris? Yep, 100% she didn't. And that's why I think people are making that comparison, because Cara Maria did way worse than Cassidy on her first season. She went out first, actually, with Darrell, right? It was I think it was first that season. It's a horrible performance. Yeah. And then she came back in Fresh Meats too. So Oreo says, who is Chris all on the banana strain for the final? I think we are on banana's second place era. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. I think Bananas is great in the final. Bananas lost the previous final that he ran, Kahuna, because he was being weighed down by Nani. Let's be honest. Yeah, Nani was never going to win a final. This time, who's going to weigh him down? Is it going to be Desi? Is it going to be Michaela? Is it going to be Tori? Is it going to be Chanel? I don't know. Which one of those girls are going to weigh him down? I don't feel like he's got a Nani there in the final with him.
Look, he's also going up against a pretty strong finals men, of the guys who's left. Because
Corey's still there.
Gosh, Corey's still. I mean, Corey's certainly a competitor. Corey's not a winner yet, and I'm hoping he proves me wrong. But to leave Fessy there, Chris, they're not leaving there by choice. There's no choice. They're not. He's taking the choice away from them by forcing his way into a finals. It looks like. He hasn't got an easy run against him, but it's certainly within his skill set to beat a four like this. Like Corey's never done it, Messy's never done it, Chris has never done it. He's
so
in the best
you're
position.
saying that the 7 rings count for nothing, and the fact that the other guys a cumulative of 0 rings between them is more of a danger going into the final for Bananas.
No, I'm saying he's in a really good position. They're not easy guys, but as far as experience goes, he's got in spades over any of them, really. First, he's gone to a few now. Corey's always has gone to finals as well, so it's not like they're without their chance. But he's got to look at it and go, no Jordan, no Wes, no. He's got to be looking and going, these are the pretty good, final to run against. I think
if Bananas and if Bananas gets to this final, and one of these younger guys like Chris just mentioned here, Corey, Fessy, or Chris, maybe Josh, not Josh. If one of them do end up beating Bananas in the final here, does this make CT's wins that much more impressive? Because he got so many, he got quite a few of his wins after 40, right? Where Bananas, as he's getting older, maybe he's slowing down and CT's only getting better.
I'm actually really fascinated by the potential storylines of this finals coming out, because if you think about who we've got left, we've got Bananas, in a really good position to go for 8, and what that does to his legacy. How does it compare to CT and things like that? Because as he said, he's getting his 8th one, like more than anyone else, which he already has, but he's getting it in his 40s. He's now 40. So that's a huge storyline, potentially like legacy ceiling kind of thing. We got Fessy and Corey going never winning yet, so they're on their arc for their first championship. Do they make the leap to start saying that they're in that deserve it of that legend and the icon status that they've already been sort of planted with, or not Fessy, but Corey anyway. We've got Josh on the precipice of his first finals, which is hilarious to think about, and then Chris. If Chris can come through this, is this like the greatest one season performance ever to go through what he's gone through as the gauntlet of eliminations, and then win against the Bananas, against the like? There's a lot of storylines that could play out that are really fascinating.
We'll talk about some records later on when we talk about Chris's performance for this season, which I think is quite interesting. Andre Lee tagged me in a few things on Twitter, so I can read that. I'm not going to pretend like I knew the backstory or the history about everything about the challenge, because I'm definitely not at that level. Drew would have probably known this. I should have had Drew on it because he could verify for me if it's correct or not. But it is an impressive performance from him, definitely. Let's finish off with the vote here. So in the vote, I thought it was impressive when Michaela was like, okay, I can't get Corey to say Tori, so let me just give Corey the vote. And she knew Corey was going to go for Cassidy, right? She was like, this is obvious. I'm going to have to sacrifice Cassidy. But she wanted to garner some good faith with Chris. And she's like, I'll choose the man. Are you accepting that? And he's like, yep, sweet, let's do it. So at least she got somewhat of what she wanted, half of what she wanted, which was to get Tyler into the vote. And this is where it gets interesting, because now Tyler and Cassidy are both up for the vote. The boys, they end up going outside, having a conversation. Josh, once again, is dictating the vote. He's sort of talking to them and saying, like, listen, we're going to try and fool Chris and say it's going to be a girls' night, but we're going to all stack our vote on Chris because we want Chris to go in. We want to make it a man's night. I thought that was interesting. So just a quick shout out to Josh. We don't have to dive too deep into that unless you want to. And then we have the scene, a little bit of a party scene, everybody letting loose. That's where Cassidy makes up with Michelle, highlight of the episode. And we also get the Cassidy and Michaela standoff, where she's like, you're so cold, you're emotionless, you're calculated, you're not, well, I felt it was like a little bit hard on Michaela in that moment, because Michaela really, she didn't have anywhere to go. She was trying to explain, like, listen, who's Corey got? Like, who's his people? There's only so much I can do for you at this moment, Cassidy.
Yeah, they're running out of numbers to pick from. Like, unless you want me to throw Desi or Chanel ahead of you, like what do you want me to do here? There's nowhere I can go when Tori's completely off the table. It's you or Michelle, essentially. Like we've gone through everyone. We've dominated this game. It's Survivor strong as far as the women goes so far. We haven't got a lot of options left.
They go into the arena and they have to put their votes in, and Tori ends up with 3 votes in the hopper. Michelle had a big decision to make here, Kuna. She could stick with Survivor and vote for Tori, someone she's played the main show with, but someone who's never been on her side in the main franchise. Or she could play for future seasons and solidify maybe a friendship with Tori by showing some loyalty in this moment. She chose the latter. Do you like this move from Michelle? In the moment for this game, maybe not the best, but did you like it for future seasons?
I think so. Like she knows she's coming back, or at least hoping to come back. There's not a lot of options left, and as far as who is more likely to come back and have a chance to have your back and repay you, Tori is 100% she's coming back. And if you're getting good with the Vacation Alliance, you're probably setting yourself up to be in a good position in future seasons. So yeah, and as far as who can also do more damage against you, potentially Tori is the one you want to side with as well, I think. So I'm fine with that.
Pete says, how is it that I'm never in a room where a woman just feels like making out with someone? I don't think you're the only one, Pete. Like, that doesn't happen very often. It's happened before in the challenge, though. Surely this is not the first time, but it's. I feel like it's been a while since we've had a bit of a loose scene like that.
I mean, Michelle also probably sees that yeah, the Survivor, but where does she stack? Where does
Mm,
she rank in that Survivor group in the Secret
yeah.
Garden? She's got to see how close Chanel, Desi, and Michaela are, that she would be at the bottom of that. And she couldn't make an argument to get a little bit closer to Tori and be higher on her priority list as well, you know?
Well, I think that Michelle this season have been kept safe by both Survivor and the vets, right? She clearly, I love Michelle as like a person. I think she's an awesome person. Even like in the moment where Cassidy's kissing her and she's like, whatever. Like if she needs to do this for her to like, she's had a tough time, I'll let her, get a kiss, type of thing. She's just one of those people that goes with the flow, which I really enjoy about Michelle's personality. I think she's got a cool personality. But as a competitor, she's probably the weakest one out of all of them right there at the moment. Like what has she done this season except really struggle on the dailies, And I would love for Michelle to come in and just like prove me wrong, smash it out, because I like Michelle so much as a personality. But as a competitor, I don't know. Like I feel like she's in danger next. 100% she's in danger. And if she goes up against Cassidy, she's losing. Cassidy's got that fight in her. She's got that dog in her in the sand.
Depends what it is, I guess. I mean, Michelle went down this season, right? She's been in the sand already. She came back.
But Cassidy
She got
is
dunks
also
in the water, but
Cassidy is also good mentally. Like she's not bad mentally, and she's physically scrappy.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's like Michelle's storyline this season has been she's all bark but no bite. That's even what Chanel said in the wrestling, this specific episode when she took her out. So I don't know. I could be wrong. Like I hope I'm wrong on this one, but I just don't see it. Chris does end up getting 6 votes, which is a lot. Everybody is like piling in on him. And it does end up with Chris going into the arena for his 4th time to compete against Tyler. And Tyler's no like easy beat either. Like he is physically pretty capable. He's a smart guy. This was really a good battle for him to get into. And what they had to do was called barrel tag, where they had these 2 barrels that they had to move and catch each other. I thought Chris was at a massive disadvantage because he had to go and tag Tyler first. I feel like him going second on the chase wasn't the best because, you could waste time using the barrels and things in the arena to try and slow
Yeah.
someone down, which he did. And he wasted time trying to do that, thinking that maybe it would work. In Tyler's case, he was like, nope, I'm not even gonna attempt that same strategy. I'm just gonna try and do something different because it was so bad when Chris tried it. So he kind of stayed on the opposite. He stayed on the opposite side of the arena the whole time, which meant that Chris had to move further than what
To get
Tyler
to him.
did. Yeah, so I felt like Chris was actually at a disadvantage going second on the chase here.
Yeah, I wish like the challenge did a better job, and we've said this before, of just explaining or put up a quick screen grab or whatever of what the rules are and what's allowed and what's not allowed. Because I thought when Chris sort of said, "I'm going to get to those barrels and use them as impediments," I thought he's going to like Donkey Kong it and just try to throw them directly at Tyler or at least at the
Same, but
barrels
maybe
or
that was
something.
too
Yeah, but
dangerous.
maybe it must roll or hit the ground first. Like we need
Like
to
it
know
would
that
hurt.
sort of thing.
Can
Oh
you
yeah,
imagine? Can you
you can
imagine?
kill
Because I was the
someone.
same as you. Can you imagine if you hit someone with a barrel?
Yeah,
Jeez.
I thought maybe like hit. You can hit the barrel at least, but it felt like he had to hit the ground
Yeah.
first. Like it specifically had to bounce or whatever. Um, I wanted to see him use the middle platform, the big block in the center. Like maybe you could use it as a like. You know how like when you in the movies they run around the car, you can't get me because there's a car in the middle of us, and whenever you go that way, I'll go the other way, kind of thing. Like there was more things that could have been done that weren't potentially, used. But I did appreciate the fact that like Chris just really brute strengthed his way through it, and they actually used that in the edit. Tyler's like on the other end, and Chris is like just moving the barrels like very, very just. I'm gonna throw these down and run at you as best you can when you're
He
using
bulldozed
barrels.
down that.
Yeah.
He absolutely bulldozed down that. And it's like he's like, I could just hear this grunting as he's coming for me. And then the last barrel that he did as well, I was like, that is such a risky because he was doing it like a big risky strategy. He knew he had to bucket it. This was his life in the game. But Chris,
Yep.
I've said this many a times on the podcast before. Some people have got BMT, big match temperament, and others don't. Chris has got
Chris has got it in
so much of
spades.
it. Like, like he's the guy that if you're doing basketball and the buzz is going and you need a 3-pointer, he's the one that's going to sink it. He's that guy. He is
Yeah.
that guy. And the way that he went about doing that barrel roll the whole time and climbing onto it, I was like, man, he's going to lose his balance. He's going to fall off. I found it hard to watch. I was so nervous because at this point, I'm fully behind Chris and I want him to do the underdog thing and get to the final because no one else wants him to get there. I'm always finding myself shouting for the underdog. And then that last barrel where he physically jumps from his barrel onto Tyler's barrels to get him. Such a risky move, but it played off.
He fell.
Yeah,
So if
he
he didn't
fell.
get the tag, it would have been all over. So yeah,
He's
like
all or
in.
nothing. Yeah,
Yep.
he's all or nothing. And
I love it.
there's a couple of really good comments that's come in. Chris says Chris booked it on those barrels. Yes, he did. King Cooper asks, not sure if this has been said yet, but is Chris's performance in the challenge, does Chris's performance in the challenge change people's view on his Survivor win? I don't think it does. I've always been of the opinion, personally, for me, this is the way I look at it as a big Survivor fan. Chris won that season fair and square. The winner of each season deserves to win it because he played by the rules of that season. But when people do winner rankings, and Chris takes this very personally because he feel like underestimate him. He played a different game to what other people played. Survivor is not like the challenge where from one season to the other season, the rules change significantly. With the challenge, you accept that because that's part of the challenge. It always has been part of the challenge. And it's actually fun and keep the show entertaining. In Survivor, the fundamentals about Survivor is as long as there's fire on your torch, you've got a life in the game. But if your fire's snuffed, your life in the game is done. And they broke it that season by allowing the edge and for a player to come back and win it, and specifically in the way that he won it. So because of that, when you do a winners rankings of Chris, you got to rank him separately because he played a different game to everybody else. And he normally is put at the bottom. But I've always said, like even coming into it, I picked him. He was I think he was like my second person in the draft because I had the 6th overall guy pick. And I picked him at that point. And I said, well, I think he's got a lot of physical ability. I saw some great strategy from him towards the end of Survivor in regards to being able to win the game because someone else also had that opportunity and didn't do it right. So it shows that it's not as easy to do as people may think. And I knew he was a likable guy. So I always liked him as a person. As one I didn't like as much, but Chris is taking it very personally, which sucks. But I do think that this is going to definitely get people behind him a lot more, Kahuna. I feel like people are definitely feeling like, wow, like I'm already feeling like we need him on another season. Like Danica says, Tyler's already set up for rivals with Chris and X's with Angela. And I could easily see Chris coming back in the future as well. I think that he's adding a lot.
How his Survivor win is viewed, he'll always still have an asterisk in a lot of people's minds. But what I think it does do is solidify the underdog come from behind, like against all odds kind of persona, like to go from a show like Survivor and win from Edge of Extinction, and then to come to a show like this and play with his back against the wall and go into elimination after elimination after elimination. That sort of type of persona of the ultimate scrappy underdog, if he wins this, like holy crap, that's cemented as one of the biggest in history. Like to have both Survivor and the challenge be wins from behind, essentially, especially the whole season long. He's doing it here on Survivor. That is a tribute in and of itself. Is he one of the greatest Survivor winners? No, but is he the greatest comeback underdog that
100%.
has played? Absolutely. That's a legacy now that he'll have for sure.
Which is a cool legacy to have. Like if you could choose to have a legacy, you want to be the guy that people are like, this guy is difficult to get. Like if you see Chris walk into the next challenge, people are going to be like, how do we get this guy out? Like, can we get him out? Like
Bananas said it this episode. And that's coming from Bananas, right? Like, who has faced the greatest, is the greatest. And he said, like, now we're looking at a guy like we need to get him into elimination. But now we look at a guy like that and go, who's going to get him out?
Yeah.
And that's a question that they've all got in the back of their heads, similar to what I guess we saw Desi and Chanel verbalizing it about Tori. Like, yeah, you can put her in, but who's going to go against her? Chris has got that reputation for sure now, like the CT intimidation factor for sure.
Yeah, he could play into that. He could
Yeah.
play into it. He could be like in the next season, guys don't want to go against me. I send people home. That's what I do. So people, like he's got an aura about him now, which a lot of new players don't always have. But Aurea here says, Chris is the male Donk Diki. Give me whatever he needs. I am so glad Chris played this season. He has become mainstay if he wants to play. And then also here, Willie saying Chris in the challenge has done very good and could win the season. Luciana, welcome to the live. I did see your comment earlier as well. I just didn't have an opportunity to bring it up, so I'm glad I can do it now. Luciana says, agree, Chris. He won his season, but that doesn't make him a great survivor winner. Also says, I think that this turn on the challenge is showing his faults on the social game, which it definitely does. But also, let's be honest, like it's hard when you're going up against like friends outside of the game. Like it's hard to penetrate that. So you can forgive him like slightly, but definitely his social game isn't perfect. But that's the thing about the challenge. It doesn't need to be perfect on the social game as long as you can win it, right? If you can win the arena. Chris also says it isn't Chris's fault he was on the season with convoluted rules and twists. Just an innocent, gorgeous man lost in a void of Survivor twists from Cashwash. Yep. Pete says, I've heard his season of Survivor was more like the challenge than it was like any previous season of Survivor. As this is true, it is why he is doing so well in the challenge. It definitely prepared him because similar to the challenge, instead of just getting voted out and not having a fighting chance to get back into the game, he had an opportunity to compete against others to get back into the game, which he won the challenge that got him back in the game to ultimately go on and win. Ori says, if Chris wins that odds, do we see him on season 40? That's a bit cool.
Odds.
You reckon?
For me, if he wins, if he's a champion and season 40 does what I'm hoping it does and tries to be all champions, that's why 39 is a battle for
I'm hearing
champion.
rumors that it's not. I'm hearing
Probably
rumors.
not. It's just my little fantasy that I'm hoping and wish.
Because I don't think that they can get enough champions to come back for season 40 either. But I'm hearing that it's from what I've heard, and I haven't stayed up to date with it. I know these things change very quickly. That it's potentially like a champions versus like there's some element of champions versus players who haven't won before. From what
I saw one of the posts that said that they've reached out to people that includes champions, finalists, and non-finalists, and I went, well, that covers every single person that's ever stepped on the show. Like champions, finalists, yeah, that's everyone. Like, what are you talking about? So
we can't wait until season 50 because CT would be 60 or 50, in his 50s by then. Like we need it to happen now. Champions versus finalists, yeah, could be an interesting concept as well. But they kind of had that with All Stars, didn't they? All Stars 3. I feel like it was like champions versus people who've made a final before. Could be wrong. But one of the very impressive things here on this elimination was Chris's record now on this thing specifically. Andre Lee tagged me in this and says Chris's win, being the 4th elimination, he is now the 9th player in challenge history to win 4 eliminations in a single season. Chris is only the 4th player to win 4 solo eliminations in one season, which put him in very esteemed company. If he goes on to win a 5th one, I don't know how many people have won 5 of them, Kona, in a season.
I think if there's another one, he the only. Yeah, he'll have the record for most elimination wins in a season, which is crazy to think about. But I mean, look who's left. If there won't be another male one, it would have to be female, right? There's 6'5". So I don't even know if he'll get the chance here.
Well, no. Well, how many people left in the guys' side? We've got Fessy, Josh, Bananas, Chris,
and Corey.
So 5.
Yeah.
So maybe that is the final. Yeah, and 6 women. So maybe one more because I think we've got one more episode coming in, and then maybe one more woman leaves, and then we get the final with 5 and 5.
5 and 5, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine. Chris is not happy about me saying everybody ages, Chris. Like, at some point, CT will become 60. It may just not be by season 50, but with the pace that they're going at right now, they're not churning out these seasons like they used to. The main show is like giving us one season, one a year. Like it's not 2 a year anymore because they've got too many All-Stars seasons to film, USA seasons, World Championship seasons to film. So they're busy at the moment. They're cooking up a lot of shows for us. Andrew Lee saying they need another Battle of the X's. That'd be fun. I don't know if they're Well, they'll make up exes if they need to. They're not above it.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
like if they needed to get the
Or
season
ride or
there,
dies or whatever they want, they'll make it up.
Cassidy and Michelle ended up being on the season together as exes because they snogged once on the challenge. Papa City. Willie saying all it takes is for Chris going against Josh and he will get his 5th elimination win, which would be very impressive. Very impressive if he can get that. Danica saying, was it might be Grandpa City at that point, Willie Lloyd's Chris may be able to beat everyone left except Corey. He's never beating Corey, Kahuna.
Oh, no.
And will they be that done? Chris, another elim for him to get that elim record. I don't know. It'll be.
Yeah,
I kind of
don't
want
know.
him to get the elim record.
I want him to win now.
Yeah.
I imagine that as a rookie season against the vets that he's actually gone against in a season with Bananas and Wes, Fessy, Corey. Like, imagine going up against 4 eliminations, winning them out, including taking out a Wes. Oh, and I saw someone say, as far as statistics go, it's the first ever Grand Slam, they called it, in the challenge history. So he's gone into 4 eliminations, but in that 4 eliminations, he took out a Big Brother, a Survivor, a Challenge Road Rules veteran, and who was the other one? An Amazing Race. So he took out all 4 shows in all 4 of his eliminations going through the gamut. Which
does that make Survivor the superior show right now? Until someone can beat him?
It's clearly showing that it is, right? Like, especially on the women's side, like that's dominant. So if they can get to the finals with 4 out of 5 women would be Survivor if Tori still goes, and then only 1 on the men's side. But yeah, if Chris wins this, I am so
I want battle of the seasons. I want battle of the seasons, but like battle of the shows. Like, let's get a season with a Survivor team, a Challenge Legends team, Amazing Race and Big Brother out there, and let's have them go at it and actually keep it in that team format for a season. I really want to see that play out. I don't know if anybody else wants to see that, but I think that would be cool. You can get some of the best of the challenge together. It'd be interesting to see what Fessy goes in as, like if he would still be a Big Brother player in that season and still not be recognized as a challenger, even after clearly playing as a challenger this season.
They might need him for the numbers, though. I thought that's what the World Championship was going to be, but based on geography, right? Like, you had the teams already sort of set up, so the challenge show off. I like that, Pete.
Oria's with you, man. He likes Corey, but he kind of doesn't want to see him win. Similar to you, you like Corey, but you kind of don't think he's good enough, Kona.
Yeah. And maybe I'm just like holding out for when he finally proves me wrong. I'm not going to be one of those guys that's bitter about it. When he proves me wrong, I'll be happy for him, but I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Just before we close off the live here, final thoughts on the women. You mentioned that they were quite strong. We've kind of mentioned that. Like, I'm with you. I want Chris to win. Team Survivor until the end, until they're all out of the game. I'm going to support Chris going into the final, and he's got this great underdog story at the moment. But from a woman's perspective, I mentioned that I think it could be Michaela's season. I would love for it to be Michaela's season. I feel like she's doing a lot on that side and giving us great entertainment. I also love Desi, but she's been very quiet. Chanel hasn't really been doing much. Tori would, again, just prove and solidify her own legacy as becoming one of the best female competitors to ever compete at this stage if she could win this one. But I'm behind Michaela. So for me at the moment, it's probably Chris and Michaela as the two that I'm sort of feeling and gravitating towards. Who do you think in the women? What's your thoughts there?
So for the women, like you said, Tori can never be counted out. If she gets to the final, she's always in with a chance. Even if she's only done it once, but she gets far and she's very capable. For me, there's only 3. It's Tori, Michaela, and Desi. I would love to see Michaela win it, like based on what she's done so far in her story. I'd love to see that. That would be my favorite. I think Desi is in with a really good shot, potentially to win that. And yeah, I'd love to see Chris win. I'd love to see Bananas get that 8 to really kind of push himself that extra thing and to get it so late in life, like with CT. But Chris's story would be amazing to go through what he's gone through and then win. That's what I would love to see the most.
Yeah, Danica saying, Chris, you're killing me with this short lives. Going to take control. Well, listen, we've gone through everything. We've gone through everything that we possibly could for this episode. But I will say, we're going to be back within about an hour to talk about Wheel of Time. So if you do watch Wheel of Time, make sure that you stick around to come and check and hang with myself and Will as we talk about the latest episode. It's been a pretty good show so far. Cash was saying I'm rooting for Corey, Chris, Michaela, Desi. Wouldn't be mad if Cassidy happened. Same with Nanas. Yeah, Bananas. Listen, kind of want to see him like add to that legacy a little bit as well. Like he's done well this season, especially for how much flack I got in the draft. Kahuna, everybody was laughing at me, telling me how silly I was to pick Bananas. He's
never. That's never a bad pick. He's shown historically, statistically, it's always a good pick. Look, Bananas has his detractors. Obviously, a lot of people don't like him, and with very good reason. He's a bit of a jerk. But I have this thing where, like, if he does go down later and we look back in 10 years and go, no, he really was the greatest, to do what he did is pretty impressive. I like the thought of being along for that ride. And if he can get his 8th and go, yeah, we watched him get his 8th one, we were there, rather than looking back at it, I'm trying to recognize at the time what we're seeing with someone like Bananas in a show like this is pretty special and unique. It doesn't happen very often, and we don't have it for that much longer, which we're starting to see with the West now and seeing CT a lot less frequently as well. So it's going to happen. Father Time is the only player that's completely undefeated. So when someone like Bananas is still doing it, appreciate it. Is what I'm saying, you know?
Yeah, well, he's going to be on House of Villains. He's moving on to Traitors, so 2 more shows that he could potentially go win. Probably Big Brother after that. He's mentioned a few times he'd love to play Big Brother. So I'm sure he's going to, extend that 15 years of fame and stretch it out to 25 if he can. The guy's really good at that. So Willie here says, I'm rooting for Chanel, Desi, Michaela, Chris, and Corey, and Joss if he can make the finals. Danica says, I know, but I need to watch the first season. Next series you decide to cover, you need to give me a few weeks' notice to pre-watch. Yep, no problems. We'll do. Go watch Wheel of Time. It's a good show. And I know that Dolores watched it because she's like, I saw the last episode. It was wild. Chris is the only reason they were giving you a hard time is because they wanted him. The reason they were giving you a hard time is because they wanted him. Oh, right. They wanted Bananas. Yeah. Luciana says Michaela is the star of the season. Desi deserves redemption. Chanel isn't showing up on the dailies. Cassidy is a toss-up, but on a final she could surprise them. Michelle could be there. That's true. Dabu saying Tory legacy. What's that winning against Nani and Anissa? Listen, she's like I would love to see a rematch against Nani and Anissa right now because Tori's only getting better. She's getting better and better the more she goes on. Like you can hate on her all you want, but if she ends up winning this, what would that be? Like
they act like it's individual though. It's Nani and Anissa who was with Jordan and Bananas.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like when you go, oh, against Nani and Anissa. No, it's against Nani and Bananas and Anissa and Jordan. And she was with Devin. Like that shows that she carried her teammate harder than, like to go up against them. So yeah, she needs a few more. I do think Tori will win a few more, but she gets to the finals and she'll always get to the finals. If she can win this one against the Michaela and against the Desi, it's pretty impressive. But yeah, Tori needs to she does need a few more. But the thing is, with women, her competition isn't that deep. Cara Maria has Cara Maria got 2 or 3?
Cara Maria's got 2, I think, in the main show, 2. and then Champs was one of the Champs was the Star seasons, I feel like as well.
That doesn't, but Tori's got Champs was a Star as well, I think. But that's what I mean. Like with the women to be solidified in her legacy, Cara Maria is the GOAT woman. She's only got 2. Laurel's only got 2, I think. Like there's not that many. Oh, 1 for Laurel, is it? So that's what I mean. Like the competition she has to solidify that legacy is not that far. No. There's a lot of women that were very good. They just don't come back as often to get the 3, 4, 5, 6 rings,
Yeah. If Tori does it while Cara is around, I'll respect her. And that's what I was just going to bring up, Dabu, actually. She's been gone while Tori has flourished. Coincidence? 100% agree with that. 100%. Like Tori and Cara Maria at their peak, but because they needed to take Cara Maria a way for Tori to flourish because she would never have won if Cara Maria was there. I feel like personally, because Cara Maria did not like Tori. She was going after Tori, taking her out. I would have loved to have seen at their peak them going against each other. But here's the good thing about Cara Maria: she's looking in shape right now. You know, she's working out. She's
I don't
battling.
know if I agree with that. That Cara Maria had to be removed for Tori because the difference between the two, Cara definitely can beat her, but this game is not individual, and it never is. And we saw that the season they did interact, it was basically Jordan and Tori were on the outside against Paulie and Cara's Mean Girls group.
This is a good point from Luciana.
Yeah, that's also a good point for sure.
Yeah.
But Cara Maria, I don't think comes in with a strong crew to protect her every season. She did have it that one scene, but that's always been Cara Maria's thing, right? That she's on the outs, she never has protection. She's targeted because she is so strong. Tori's whole thing is that she's always protected. She always has strong alliances, and she's always insulated. So in a season where these two come together, who's going to have the relationships that can actually protect them from going to elimination more? And at the moment, because of the the way it's been, it's Tori, 100%.
Yeah, but it's because they removed Cara Maria. So Dabu definitely has a point in that sense because at the point that they removed Cara Maria had it on down pat. How many finals was that in a row, Kahuna, that she made before they had to remove her from the game because she kept making finals? It was like 9 or 10 finals in a row she made. Like,
she's amazing.
It was insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like she had the house on lock. Like Tori couldn't flourish socially if Cara Maria was there. Like Cara Maria had all the people.
Well, it depends on the people, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Exactly.
Like, it depends on who they cast.
They changed the board. They changed the board is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Tori, you reckon?
Oh, 100%. I do feel like, listen, you can't you have to give credit where it's due. I'm not just hating on Tori for hating on Tori. She's done a lot of good things as well. Like I even said, her confessionals are fun. Like even this episode, I was like, man, she's good at that.
Yeah.
So you got to give her credit for that as well. But I do think that Dabu's got a point at least.
Oh, I'm not saying without point for sure.
Still impressive.
Which is what Tori's basically done as well.
Yeah.
Cara Maria is amazing. And I think in a finals, 1-on-1, I have Cara Maria over Tori easily. I just think that the crew that Cara Maria was building up,
let it be known, Pete.
Gone.
Let it be known, Pete. The only woman.
Well,
actually, I guess Jenny West would have been the second one if they didn't change the rules at the end and allowed Bananas to get a 7th title.
Conspiracy theories.
Anyways, on that note, it's been a lot of fun talking to everybody.
Get the foil hat out.
Get the foil hat out. It's been a lot of fun talking to everybody about this latest episode. Lovable Nikki. Here goes Kahuna. Cara Maria definitely had to leave for Tori to win. Be for real. Here we go, Lovable Nikki. Let him know. Let him know. It's been a lot of fun talking to everybody about this week's action here on The Challenge. We'll catch you guys next time where we will talk about, I think, the finale episode. We'll find out next week. We're getting pretty close to it. And have a great evening on that side there. If you're jumping in about 45 minutes, I'll see you on the Wheel of Time coverage as well. Stay safe. Have a good weekend and catch you guys next week. Bye.